Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we're going to review some week 3. And first of all, Maddie, we both were talking about this before we started. Ravens, Lions, Justin Tucker, 66-yard field goal, NFL record. And all I got to say is, did you see the hop step? Because that's what got him there, and that was insane.
Oh, so heartbroken. Like I know as a Vikings fan, like obviously the Lions are division's rivals, but you've got to feel bad for them, man. Like what a game, what a way to play. Do you know what killed them at the end? Playing too conservatively and accepting the field goal. Like if you're in that situation, you're not going to win many games this year. You're not going to win many games against the Ravens. To play conservatively and still leave that much time on the clock. But this is a building block for the Lions. They should have won that game. There's not many teams in the history of the game with a kicker as special as Justin Tucker. And the Lions are cursed. That bounce ricochets out more times than it flips over, you know. The Lions are just cursed. What a great game. DeAndre Swift is special. I think he's really good. He's been questionable going into the last 2 weeks and has put on some amazing shows. Jared Goff is kind of the perfect quarterback for them at the minute. Like he's not Matthew Stafford, as we'll talk about later, but he's kind of a good quarterback for them at the minute. Just steady hand while they rebuild their program. Maybe if they manage to rebuild their program by putting some weapons around him, they'll do well with Jared Goff. And they played really well. The Ravens made some mistakes. Hollywood Brown just had butter on his hands or something like that. And they're fine. The Lions will be fine. They'll win a few games this season if they play like that.
Yeah, I'm actually just started to go through next week's games because as we're recording, Monday Night Football hasn't even happened yet. So I'm starting to go through, and I don't know. We'll see when we record, but as of right now, I'm kind of leaning Lions next week, but we'll see. But we'll get into the Bears and that stuff later.
Who have they got? The Bears?
The Bears.
The Bears. That'll be a close one. We'll have to do a bit of analysis.
The Lions got bit by the Lions bug. Justin Tucker. Shout out to you for 66-yard
fair play, man.
Field goal. You did it, but I think we'll just move on to Tampa and the Rams.
Can I just say a quick thing about that?
Absolutely.
The Justin Tucker field goal, 66 yards, happens just after Matthew Prater comes about 2 yards short of a 68-yard field goal and then runs it all the way back. And then I can't remember the name of the guy, runs it all the way back for 109 yards. What a crazy, crazy week of football. If Prater is in 66 yards, he holds the longest NFL yardage.
He had it up until
2 yards out.
He had it until Tucker decided to kick that thing. He had the record. That was Prater's record. He goes for 68 and misses after he's already has the 64 record. And then Tucker comes in and gets me a nice 4 points in fantasy by hitting that.
What a weekend of football. What a great weekend. Shout out to the Lions. Shout out to Motor City, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm impressed with the way they're gritty. I like their grit.
That's even more of a moral victory than the Cowboys week 1.
Well, Tampa Bay versus the Rams, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I saw, and then I'll get out your way. What I saw is the Tampa Bay Bucks doing this exact same thing they did at the beginning of last season, playing man-to-man, letting guys get behind them on defense. Whereas what they did at the beginning of last season, and then they switched to more of a zone scheme, and they had a better defense. So I don't know what they're trying to do if they're just trying new things. But I'm not worried yet. It's Tampa. It's Tom Brady. They lost to a really good team with a guy that we said on this team is going to be a really good quarterback.
What I saw is the difference in the Rams with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff last night. Like that's what I saw. With Jared Goff, they don't win that game. With Matthew Stafford, they can't just tee off on you and mark the short game. They have to try and take away the deep ball as well. I thought Stafford outplayed Brady last night. I think it was, and then obviously the Rams defense is real. The Rams defense seriously real. They're, for me, the two best teams in the NFC. I'm sure we'll see them in the playoffs, if not in the NFC Championship game again, to see what happens. And playoff Tom Brady is a definite worry. I'm not worried about the Bucs yet. It's just it was a bit close week one. They lost against the Rams, who are a better team than the Cowboys. All they really had to do against the Cowboys was attack one side of the field. So if they come up against some stronger defenses, but they'll just get it to click together. And obviously they are missing a lot of defensive pieces at the minute. So I don't want to punish them too much. And it looks like they're in a bit of a weak division as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think both teams are going to be playoff contenders. And all I'll say about the Rams defense, you can rattle off a bunch of names, right? You can.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to their corners and their pass rush. I mean, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald is probably all you really have to say at that point.
Yeah, when you see in that one blitz play where Donald knocks it up in the air and it's Ramsey and Donald both coming off the same edge, you're like, that's real worrying for anybody.
Well, let's move on to a game that I really, really enjoyed watching, even though it wasn't the cleanest game, it wasn't the grittiest game, whatever. But the Chiefs-Chargers game was really impressive to me. And what I want to say about the Chiefs is if you watched them last year, they would get behind and then they would just turn it on and win. I think they can still do that, and they can't. Like, they need to get ready from the jump. You can't just get behind and think you're going to come back every game.
The Chargers gave them every chance to win that game, as far as I'm concerned. The Chargers did everything they could to choke that game. Justin Herbert was fantastic the entire game. Brandon Stanley will get better. He will be better. He's a first-year head coach. Just a bit more clock management. I don't understand going for the touchdown when they could have just knelt twice, kicked the field goal with 1 second left in the game when you've got Patrick Mahomes on the other side. Asante Samuel, I'm going to say it again for the second week running. What a cornerback. The Cowboys should have drafted him, but doesn't matter. I just wanted to make it known to everybody that I called that, and I know nothing about defense in the NFL, but I knew Asante Samuel was good. I thought the Chargers players played well. I felt like everybody could have managed the clock a bit more. The Chiefs just seemed off. Like, they just didn't seem to connect. The Chargers secondary is good enough to take advantage of you if you don't connect. And Mahomes, stupid throw at the end of the game, you know? I know he had to make a play, but stupid throw at the end of the game.
Oh, I agree. That was very un-Patrick Mahomes-like in that type of situation. Justin Herbert, 4 touchdowns. But what I was most impressed with, because I agree with you, the Chargers did everything they could to lose that game, but they had so much moxie to stay in it and win it. And the fact is that winning, you got to learn how to win those type of games. And even though you fucking botched some really big plays and calls on there, you had enough moxie to grit it out and win that game. Impressive.
I think this is what might grow the Chargers. This is the game this is what they needed after last week, where they did everything to lose the game and lost. The Cowboys also tried to lose that game as well. Everybody was trying to lose that game last week. Like, both teams played well and they were just trying to lose it at the end. But that's the kind of win that the Chargers have been begging for. That game last season or even last week, they lose. But hopefully now, Stanley will learn from this. Justin Herbert will just keep doing the same thing he's been doing, and they'll win those close games from now on. And I'm also not worried about the Chargers. They've come out a bit slower. They're in a really difficult division. Hopefully they'll wake up for their sake and start playing from the off and not need Patrick Mahomes to just start bollocking them on the sideline from the get-go.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thought the Chiefs were going to be the last place team in week 3 in their division.
No.
But again, another team I'm not too worried about. But shout out to Andy Reid. I hope you're okay. You went to the hospital after the game last night. Looks like you're in stable condition and everything's good. Just T's and P's to Andy Reid. On to the Packers 49ers, Maddie. This game was epically insane. Oddly, I even looked at my wife at the end of the game, which was amazing. She was still up, but she was making some crafts for her craft show. So I looked at her and I said, they gave Rodgers too much time. 37 seconds. I know people are like,
seconds, no times out, no timeouts.
Right. But I have to say, I blame that loss on DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. It's his first year. That was some bad play calling in the last 37 seconds. I don't know if you remember, but I also said on our first video of the year this year that the Packers defense was not going to be better like everybody thought they were going to be, and they were actually going to be worse. And the last thing I'll say on what was going on is those refs tried to help for the 49ers win that game. That was an awful PI call. And how the hell does Devontae Adams get knocked out on the field and no flags thrown, and then the NFL lets the Packers put him back in the game? I'm so baffled. So baffled on what happened.
That shows the difference in the NFL and all other sports on the planet. This is coming from a European/British point of view. With all of our petrol problems right now, I'm wishing that we were still in the EU and more European. We'll talk about that another time. If that happens in rugby, due to the amount of issues that have happened with concussions in rugby, that he does not go back in. He doesn't see the field for another 4 weeks if that's in rugby, because that's the concussion protocol and how seriously we take it. And he shouldn't have gone back in that game. Now, I'm thankful he did go back in that game because my fantasy team's looking really good this year, really good this week. But that is horrible. The 49ers suffered from the same problem that the Lions did in the last few seconds, where they went too conservative. I never understand. I really struggle to understand that from defensive teams. Like, you've held a team, you're playing really well. Just, you don't have to go ultra conservative and mark the field goal line, because in the NFL, for some reason, players can't tackle. It's infuriating to me to watch the amount of missed tackles that happen in the NFL. It's really strange to me.
I really think it's because they don't allow them to tackle in training camp anymore.
Yeah, I just find it ridiculous. Some rugby training drills in the summer camp where it's no pads, because in rugby you tackle in no pads. We just do it on the playground and stuff like that. Like, it's soft tackling, but you take the guy down. If those NFL players were playing rugby, they wouldn't be professionals because they miss so many tackles. And I understand it's because it's a territory game, so you're trying to overturn the ball and all of that kind of stuff. I think missed tackles are going to hurt you. That's why everybody has to go conservative, and then going conservative to a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, he's going to get them in field goal range, and Crosby is going to kick field goals with a blindfold on, because he's automatic. He's automatic kicker. He's like what Dan Bailey used to be before the injury.
I'm betting you agree with me, but I want to ask you this. I don't think the 49ers lose if Rob Saleh's still their defensive coordinator.
No, 100% not. I jettison the 49ers from my fantasy team defense this week. Like this week coming up. I mean, I replaced them with the Steelers, which was just as bad a decision, but doesn't matter. There wasn't anybody left on the market. Yeah, I jettison them because they're not looking like a 49ers defense. And their run game isn't as strong as I thought it would be, but that could be largely down to injuries. Nice touchdown for Trey Lance, though.
Yes, it was. And I'll just on another note, you know how bad the 49ers played because they put up 28 points, and in fantasy, the Packers defense still gave me 8.
Yeah.
That's interceptions, that's sacks. That's that kind of thing that you can't let happen, that they let happen a lot.
Yeah, it's surreal. And also, Packers, Rodgers and Devontae Adams are starting to click. That's really, really good for them. Aaron Jones is a fantastic running back. They're going to get big plays out of him whenever they get it. I forget the name. It's a really long name, but he comes up and makes a big play every now and again. Wide receiver.
Valdez-Scantling.
Van der Scantling. Yeah, him. He's a weapon. They're a strong team, the Packers, after that week 1 failure. It's really difficult to go to the 49ers and win. So congrats to the Green Bay Packers.
Well, let's stay in the NFC North, Maddie. And Skol! Vikings, Hawks, I'll let you go first because I got to run on this one at the end.
I think before watching this game, because we both picked the Vikings before this game, I think they're one of the best 0-2 teams I can remember seeing. Like they're one of the best 0-2 teams, and this 17-game season might actually really help you guys. Plus the fact you're a horrible matchup for the Green Bay Packers later on, but without Dalvin Cook, to a Seahawks offense that's been ticking over, scoring big plays the entire time. That's a fantastic win. Shout out to the backup running back. I picked him up in my fantasy.
Alexander Madison.
I picked him up in my fantasy during the game just to make sure that nobody else could. And yeah, excellent, great work from the defense as well. And I'm just going to let you tee off on this one.
Well, quick shout out to Overtime Hustler magazine, just because they've done an interview a few months back with Alexander Madison. So if you want to see it, great interview with them. All right. So this is the first time the Vikings have beat the Seahawks since the 2009 Brett Favre-led team. Okay? Let's wrap that up there first. Second of all, the Vikings defense looked rough in the first half, but threw a shutout in the second half, which I'm very impressed with. Madison, like you touched on, 112 rushing yards, 170 yards from the line of scrimmage. Mike Zimmer called it the best offensive performance he's seen in the 8 years he's been there. That might be saying a little bit much because of that miracle team with the Minnesota Miracle, but I get where he's coming from. This is where I am super impressed, and can people stop shitting on Cousins and acting like he lost the first 2 games? Kirk Cousins, 3 games, 918 yards, 8 touchdowns, okay? Second longest streak in the NFL history with a 90-plus QBR, okay? Let's quit blaming Kirk Cousins. It was stupid mistakes in Zimmer's defense that lost the first 2 games, which kind of chaps my ass. I'm not a guy that says we should be, but we could have been 3-0. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you could have been 3-0. That's a very, like, that's not out the realms of possibility.
I don't say should have been, but could have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That extra playoff game and the 17-game schedule may save Zimmer's job, because I think he was gone if they don't make the playoffs, and I love me some Zimmer, so I'm hoping. And one other thing I wanted to touch on, just be for the Packers and the Vikings, it was huge for Madison to step up, because Dalvin Cook is such a big part of the offense and such a top running back. But I want to give Aaron Jones a quick shout out now that I think about it. People don't give him credit, and personally, I think he's the 4th best all-around running back, not pure running back, but I would say you can, whatever order you want, McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Jones for receiving and running.
I've taken Derrick Henry out because he doesn't really catch the ball.
Right. I
just want to put that out there for everybody.
Yeah, he's one of the top. He's a top running back. I'm just saying all around when you with the receiving. So having Dalvin Cook out was huge, and the way the offensive line looked, I was impressed. It's the first time I've been impressed with my offensive line in about 4 years.
It was a fantastic win, and the Seahawks didn't really do that much wrong. Like, I can't think back to the Seahawks being particularly terrible. Just when you're getting smashed out of the way by offensive linemen, it's very difficult to stop somebody going for 112 yards or whatever it was. And I think yesterday was the first time that I saw Kirk Cousins as an elite quarterback, like you see him. Like, that was the first time yesterday where I was like, every play, because I like Kirk Cousins, but I always saw him as a system quarterback, and I think that's some residue from his Washington football team, previously the team that should not be named team, from when he was there. I think that was a bit of residue from there rather than my actual thoughts about him. But I sat down and I watched him properly yesterday, like analyzed exactly what he was doing. And he runs that offense. He is a really, really smart quarterback who kind of makes the best with what he's got. Like, he makes the best of what he has, is what I think I would describe Kirk Cousins as. And I think he was awesome yesterday, played really well. And when you look at that stat line, it's very difficult to say anything else, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
I hate doing this, but I'm going to do it just because he never gets any love. Through 3 weeks, if you do not have Kirk Cousins in an MVP conversation, you're not watching football this year.
If they won the games, then he would be more in the MVP conversation, I think.
I get what you're saying, but you can't, like, my point is people always want to blame him, and with the over
definitely.
yards.
No. He's not to blame at all. He's not to blame at all for the Vikings 0-2 start. I think it's more they face teams playing ridiculously well rather than anything else. Like a few mistakes here and there, but they're not an 0-2 team. They won yesterday, and rightly so. Well done to them. Well done. Congrats.
All right, and then let's round out the NFC North with the Bears, Browns, and you know how I feel about Justin Fields, but this isn't about Justin Fields. This poor kid only had 6 completions and 9 sacks. 9 sacks. Okay, the offensive line was atrocious, and Matt Nagy didn't even let the kid play. He didn't even give him an opportunity to play at all. Where were some bootlegs when your offensive line is looking that big? Why aren't you getting him out in space? And Matt Nagy today proves how inept he is. I don't know if you saw this, but right before we started recording, he went on and said, Foles, Dalton, and Fields, all 3 quarterbacks are up for consideration for the Lions week 4.
I personally would take Fields out if your offensive line is going to play that bag, but you've got to put Andy Dalton in over Nick Foles. Then you know Nick Foles doesn't work. I think it's a play. He's trying to look like a good coach and stuff, but that's
I feel like he's blaming Fields so he doesn't get fired.
Yeah, it's not Fields' fault at all. There's nothing that Fields could have done, apart from just not listening to Matt Nagy in his first start. It was his first start, so he's going to listen to his coach.
Right.
But Fields isn't a guy that should be getting sacked for, what was he? He got sacked for 67 yards and threw for 68 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they made 1 yard in their passing game, if you take it like that. But he got sacked for 67 yards. But Fields is a mobile quarterback. He shouldn't be getting sacked for 67 yards. He should just take off when their line's just crumbling that much. If I'm Justin Fields next week or throughout this week, I'm saying, if guys are streaming through on me, I'm running. Like, I'm not looking to throw. I'm going to run because nobody's getting open because they have no weapons. They have zero. Like, they have Allen Robinson, who you can just put your best coverage man on. And the Chicago Bears aren't a good team this year. And the Cleveland Browns are a very good team this year, even though they're trying their best to not look like a good team this year. By getting into close games in games that shouldn't really be close, but close games kind of sorts. Like, they're going to be thankful for this close game experience at the end of the season when they're in the playoffs, aren't they? Because they're winning close games. Kevin Stefanski is running his system very effectively, and Myles Garrett was an absolute animal yesterday. Absolutely incredible first overall pick performance from Myles Garrett. And yeah, you just got to feel sorry for Justin Fields. It comes down to what I said at the start of the season, where you don't play him until they've got like 3 or 4 games at the end of the season where they're not going to be playing for anything and they're easier games, and he's sat for a while behind an experienced QB like Andy Dalton. I understand why they had to bring him in, but if you're going to bring him in, then you've got to give him a chance to play his way. You can't ask him to play like Andy Dalton when the guy's when he's more Cam Newton, when he's an absolute animal and should be on the run a lot more.
Yeah, Myles Garrett had 5.5 sacks. Jadeveon Clowney got to him twice. I don't know if he got 2 sacks or 1.5 for that because 2 of them met at the quarterback.
And if Clowney's getting sacks, you know something's wrong because he's a fantastic defensive lineman, but he's not known for his sacks, is he?
Right, he's a pressure guy. And
he causes sacks for everybody else.
Baker missed a couple throws, but he also looked good. And I wish I'd have wrote this guy's name down, but some clown started arguing with me on Facebook as a Browns fan, telling me that the Browns are not going to extend Baker Mayfield.
I don't see why
get out of here.
They wouldn't, because there's no good QBs coming up. They're not going to be able to get anybody on the market because they don't have the capital. So even if you don't think, like, if you think that Baker Mayfield is less than a top 15 quarterback, then you're an idiot. Like I see him, you see him as top 10, right? I see him.
I don't know. I got him around the 10 mark.
You know, where he's like top 10, but there's 15 people in your top 10.
Yes,
he's one of those guys. He's a Kirk Cousins for me, Derek Carr for me, like that kind of level of QB. And there's no other option for them to keep Baker. And in this system, Baker Mayfield works because he's the kind of guy that when you need a play, he'll pull it out of his arse, but you just don't want him to do that all the time. And he's fantastic in an offense where you run the ball and you just have a couple of weapons. And then Odell Beckham looked really good yesterday as well, coming back from an injury.
Yeah, I thought it was big. And the fact is that the Browns haven't even had a chance to get both of their top wide receivers on the field together because Landry's playing, he gets hurt, Odell comes back. So they haven't even had a chance to get those guys all back together. Peoples-Pope, man, was looking good.
Peoples-Jones, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Jones.
He's a seriously underrated wide receiver, in my personal opinion. He's a great third. Like, he's got the potential to be a fantastic second, but if you have him as your third, then wow, he's really good. Did you watch the All or Nothing Michigan? Like All or Nothing, you know, the Amazon Prime. They did a thing in Michigan and it followed, and he was playing at Michigan at the time. And he got a really bad injury, but the way that he took that injury and worked with it and stuff like that, and some of the plays he was making whilst being shown on All or Nothing, he's a top talent in the NFL, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
The only reason I know who he was in college is because my cousins live in Michigan, big Michigan fans, right? Yeah. And he was telling me, watch this kid. And
definitely. So they have 2 of the best running backs in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league, 2 of the best wide receivers, probably one of the best third. I can't think of a team that has a better third apart from the Dallas Cowboys when Gallup.
2 really solid tight ends in Njoku and
Hooper. They have a fantastic offense. They play offense in a way where it's going to lead to close games because they know that's the way to win games. Like, they just chew up the clock. They could blow teams out if they really wanted to, but they decide to play it a different way because that's Stefanski's game and that's going to help them out in the playoffs. The Bears are terrible. Sorry, Bears fans. You'll get better. Just play shit, and then you can get top offensive linemen throughout the draft instead of trying to play really well at this point. Like, win a few games. Don't get into the idea of a losing culture. Matt Nagy should be gone at the end of the season. I don't necessarily think Nagy's a terrible coach. Like, he took Trubisky to the playoffs twice. He's on one of the best defenses going. So, like, I'm not entirely sure he's a terrible coach, but he'll be gone by the end of the season. Just play terrible. Fix your offensive line, get a weapon, and then build around Justin Fields for next season. That's my advice to the Chicago Bears.
Well, Maddie, on to your Cowboys and the Eagles tonight. It hasn't happened yet, so let's touch on it quick. And I'll tell you this. I picked your Cowboys to win.
Yep.
And I hope you guys tie. Like, you both can't lose, so I hope you tie.
Yeah. This is the game for the NFC East now, really. After watch it, like not the game for the NFC East towards the end of the game, but whoever wins this is top of the NFC East. The NFC East has looked weirdly, it's looked weird. Like it's just looked really strange. The Eagles are better than anybody thought they were. Dallas's defense can actually play some defense at the time, which isn't what anybody expected. And then Washington, who were meant to have one of the best defenses in the league, got blown out against the Bills.
And they're rated in the 20s and everything in defense. Their defense is not as good as we thought they were.
Yeah, what's going on in Washington, which makes me feel really good for them winning because, you know, like if Washington's defense isn't playing well, then no matter how much better anybody expected Tyler Heineke to be than he is, their offense still isn't going to just blow people out and win games. They need to really fix that.
And the Giants suck.
I'm sure they will. And then the Giants just suck. Like everybody was like, oh, the Giants are going to be better than people expect. You watch the Giants and they suck. To get beat by that Falcons team, you've got, with Matt Ryan playing as badly as he is, then you must suck. Like they were just not very good. I've got the Cowboys winning tonight. I'm not going to be watching it until tomorrow morning on the 40 minutes on the Game Pass, just because it's really late and I've got special ed kids to teach, you know.
I think both quarterbacks end up playing well tonight.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that Jalen Hurts ends up playing well is just you guys have injuries in one side of the field that's rough. And so I don't think it's necessarily a shot at the Dallas defense. It's a shot at where the Dallas defense is right now.
Yeah, it's where they're weak. They're weak in one very specific area of the field where it's really easy to attack that area of the field because the Dallas defensive line doesn't get to the QB religiously. Like it puts pressure on every QB, but it doesn't sack them a lot. That's a serious problem with the defense. They don't get sacks. They get pressure and they get hits. But with the issue of only being able to defend one side of the field on defense, if you can't get the pressure, then that's going to be a real issue. So it's really easy to attack that side of the field. I just see the Dallas offense as just being able to do whatever they kind of want. So I kind of hope they run the ball tonight, just because then that keeps our defense off the field. And that means we can kind of manage the game a bit better. And I hope they're able to run the ball. But if they're not able to run the ball, chances are they're going to be able to throw it on you instead. And I still believe that the Eagles' first week was just a bit of a fluke. Like the Eagles' first 2 weeks, they just came out playing really hard, and they're not going to play as well from now on. And I think tonight will be the step-up game for the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't want to jinx it, but this is where they can take the lead of the NFC East and hopefully just carry on from there. It's a very dysfunctional division.
Yeah, my last thought on the Cowboys, and I'll see if you agree with me, but I'm a believer in Zeke, but if he doesn't step it up this game, I see Pollard getting more carries as the year goes on.
That's a lot of chat in Cowboys Nation of that kind of thing, but could they just not be running a two-back system for two totally different things? Like that could be it. And obviously Zeke's taken a lot of money out of the pot, but I think he draws so much attention that lets Pollard play. Like if Pollard's your every down back, then you're not in a good situation. Like Zeke,
no, but I think it gets more to 50-50 if Zeke.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm seeing Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt kind of out of the backfield, Cleveland Browns style of offense, but I just think I do think that Zeke's still getting used to the fact that he's actually able to play football. It just looked like he'd forgotten how to play football last year. And now he's made plays where it looks like he knows what he's doing. Zach Martin's another game in after injury. Like, just run behind Zach Martin, Zeke, and you're going to break tackles. You'll be fine. Zach will create some soft tackles for you. You just run through him. Don't try all this fancy steppy shit. Leave that to Pollard and just run through people. Just go for it. And I love Zeke, and I think he's going to play really well. Hopefully, Dak will just continue, keep on keeping on, you know. I wouldn't mind another solid game from Dak and him to put yards up at the end of the year and just have a solid game. Let's just win this game. We don't need to blow the Eagles out. let's focus on the win. Let's focus on the win, and then everything will gradually start ticking, and it'll all come together. And hopefully nobody bribes any officials between now and 1:15 in the morning tonight.
That only happens when you take piss tests in Dallas.
Oh God, that's such a Dallas Cowboys thing to fucking do. It's so stupid.
No, but like, I shouldn't even bring it up, but the craziness on the internet, I'm like, you see that got posted, and then people are like, isn't that the guy who killed his girlfriend? And it's like, you guys really need to stop. Like, that whole draft day thing that he lost so much money because somebody lied about this dude. And then people still want to keep smearing his name. Is so awful.
It's apparently he was at a funeral because his uncle died or something like that. And he wanted to, like, he knew he'd get suspended because he missed the test, no matter what the reason was. So he was trying to keep it under wraps because he wasn't doing anything actually wrong. He was just away.
Yeah, but you made it so much worse by trying to bribe the guy.
I know, but it's only a 5 game, so you have a feeling it's a 5 game because of the bribe,
he caught that
rather
extra
than
game because of the bribery.
Yeah, it's 5 game because of the bribe, not because of the drugs or anything like that.
Right, because this drug test is automatically 4, I believe.
Yeah, it was a stupid thing to do, but
I want to know how much he offered him. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, clearly not fucking enough. Like,
right.
He would have been able to offer him more if people didn't say that he killed his girlfriend.
Yeah, there you go. He could have bought his way out of that if they wouldn't have fucked him to begin with.
All right. Well, what a great weekend of football. What a great.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm excited for tonight, and then we'll be back at you guys later this week with a preview of week 4.
Watch our previews, guys, for betting lines, because we are killing it in terms of predicting games right this season. I don't know where Jay is with it, but I'm currently...
You're doing better than me, and I'm still batting pretty good.
I'm 25-6.
The numbers, but I still think I'm around 70-some%.
Yeah, I'm 25-6 at the minute.
Yeah, crushing.
I haven't counted my week 1 predictions in that because I don't. Oh no, we haven't. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. Doesn't matter. Something. Have I?
But
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
No, that's like 2 weeks. But
that's
whatever.
2 weeks. Through the past 2 weeks, I'm 25-6.
I have to do the whole accumulation, but it's just a rough guess. I think I'm in the 70 percentile of the whole thing. So
yeah. So watch our previews of games, guys. It's going quite well at the minute. I don't want to say too much on that and blow too much smoke up our ass, All
right, guys. Well, check us out. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.